Hey everyone, we're looking at Cetearyl alcohol in skincare today, specifically its role as a thickener and stabilizer. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what this ingredient brings to a formula, how to properly phase it, and crucially, the exact formulation ratios you need for stable emulsions.
Here is what we're covering today. 1. What is Cetearyl alcohol? 2. Skincare benefits and structural uses. 3. Not a complete emulsifier. 4. Usage rates and formulations. 5. Cannabis-infused skincare oils. And finally, 6. Where to use it.
All right, Section 1. What is cetearyl alcohol? The chemistry behind the waxy solid. So when a lot of people hear the word alcohol on an ingredient list, they immediately picture something thin, volatile, or super drying to the skin. But cetearyl alcohol is absolutely none of those things. Unlike those short-chain solvent alcohols you'd find in hand sanitizers, this is actually a solid, waxy, long-chain fatty alcohol. Think of it more as a structural emollient. It's a mixture predominantly made up of cetyl alcohol, which has a 16-carbon chain, and stearyl alcohol, which has an 18-carbon chain. That specific heavy structure is exactly why it behaves completely differently from liquid solvent alcohols.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Cetearyl alcohol isn't just one single uniform ingredient. Most home formulators actually use a standard 30-70 grade. That means it contains 30% cetearyl alcohol and 70% stearyl alcohol. Because the specific blend has a much higher proportion of stearyl alcohol, it really pushes your finished cosmetic product to have a firmer, creamier, and just all-around more cushioned feel on the skin. But you've got to watch out because supplier grades can vary quite a bit. For instance, if you happen to pick up a 50-50 blend, that higher proportion of cetyl alcohol is going to create a lighter, much more slippery texture in your final emulsion. This is exactly why you've got to check your supplier's specific ratio. Swapping a 30-70 blend for a 50-50 blend will literally fundamentally change the texture, the glide, and the firmness of your skincare product.
Moving on to Section 2, Skincare Benefits and Structural Uses. Let's look at why formulators rely on it so heavily.
This ingredient brings 5 major structural and cosmetic advantages to the table. First up, it builds viscosity and structure. As your emulsion cools down, it helps give a lotion enough body to work in a pump bottle, or it makes a cream sit nicely in a jar without separating. Second, it supports emulsion stability by giving the continuous phase a much stronger physical framework. Third, it massively improves slip and creaminess, so you completely lose that loose, wet feeling in favor of a controlled, cushioned glide. Fourth, it acts as an emollient, meaning it softens the skin and leaves it feeling really smooth. And finally, it adds opacity. It actually makes formulations look whiter and cohesively opaque, which is a huge cosmetic plus, because let's be honest, a smooth white cream just looks a lot more inviting and stable.
Section 3. Not a complete emulsifier. Time to understand the Lamellar network.
Okay, here's a crucial point. If you just throw oil, water, and cetearyl alcohol together in a beaker, you are not going to automatically make a stable cream. Cetearyl alcohol is a structuring ingredient and an emulsion stabilizer. It is not a dependable standalone primary emulsifier. As your emulsion cools, it helps those fatty alcohol and surfactant molecules arrange themselves into really fine layers throughout the water phase. We call these lamellar gel networks. These networks hold water and restrict the movement of oil droplets, which stabilizes the whole product. But for this to actually work, it absolutely requires a primary emulsifier to step in and do the heavy lifting of binding that oil and water together in the first place.
To put this into perspective, let's look at the full ingredient formulations of some popular commercial waxes, focusing on exactly how cetearyl alcohol is used and in what amounts. Take BTMS 25. It's a combination of roughly 75% cetearyl alcohol to 25% behintramonium methosulfate. Emulsifying Wax NF and Montanov 68 rely on very similar ratios, about 75% cetearyl alcohol to 25% of their respective surfactants like polysorbate 60 or cetyryl glucoside. In every single one of these cases, cetearyl alcohol is providing the body, while that 25% active surfactant handles the actual emulsifying. This is exactly why you can't just swap out these commercial waxes for plain cetearyl alcohol in a recipe. If you tried to replace 5% BTMS 25 with 5% plain cetearyl alcohol, you're entirely removing the behintramonium methosulfate. The chemistry is completely broken at that point, and your emulsion is basically guaranteed to fail.
That brings us to Section 4, Usage Rates and Formulations, Crafting the Perfect Emulsion.
Let's walk through the exact step-by-step process for working with this. Step 1, you always want to weigh your cetearyl alcohol directly into your heated oil phase, right in there with your other oils, butters, and oil-soluble emulsifiers. Step 2, heat that phase until every single pellet is totally melted. Now, even though Cetearyl alcohol itself melts between 49 and 56 degrees Celsius, you've got to follow your primary emulsifier's temperature requirements. More often than not, that means bringing both your water and oil phases up to about 70 or 75 degrees Celsius. Step 3, make absolutely sure the melted mixture is completely uniform before you even think about combining your phases. And lastly, Step 4, always wait at least 24 hours after the product is completely cooled to judge its final viscosity. If you try to judge it while it's still warm, you'll get a totally false impression of how thick it's actually going to become.
So what about specific formulation amounts? Well, there's no single magic percentage for every product, but we do have some really reliable guidelines. If you're just looking for a modest adjustment to viscosity, say you want a standard pump lotion to feel just a little more substantial, you'll want to use a formulation rate of between 0.5% and 2%.
If you bump that amount up to between 2% and 5%, you're going to create a noticeably thicker, much creamier texture. This range is absolutely perfect for those richer emulsions like heavy face creams or luxurious body lotions. And honestly, you can even push those levels way higher than 5% if you're formulating solid, anhydrous, water-free products like balms or deodorant sticks that really demand significant physical structure.
All right, Section 5. Cannabis-infused skincare oils. Proper phasing. Now, if you're formulating with cannabis-infused oils, there are some very strict phasing rules you need to follow. Do not ever add Cetearyl alcohol during the actual cannabis infusion process itself. If you do that, it's going to solidify as it cools, massively clog up your filters, and honestly, you'll end up wasting a ton of your precious infused oil trapped in the discarded plant material. Instead, the correct method is to prepare and completely strain your infused oil first. Only after that's done do you add the Cetearyl alcohol to the heated oil phase of your final product. You basically just treat the infused oil like any other oil in your formula. It's also super important to understand the functional limits of this ingredient in your cannabis formulations. Its job is strictly to dictate physical structure and skin feel. That means Cetearyl alcohol is absolutely not going to bind cannabinoids to water, it won't magically increase the potency of your extract, and it definitely does not act as an antioxidant or a preservative. You still have to manage oil oxidation and microbial preservation using completely separate, dedicated ingredients.
And finally, Section 6. Where to use it, applications and sourcing.
So what types of products actually benefit the most from this versatile structuring ingredient? The list is pretty extensive, actually. It's totally perfect for face and body creams that need a nice, luxurious cushion, and for heavy hand creams that need staying power on the skin instead of just a dry finish. It adds the exact right amount of viscosity to pump lotions so they don't just drip right through your fingers. Beyond basic skincare, it's heavily used alongside cationic emulsifiers in hair conditioners and hair masks. It even balances slip and cleansing balms and adds essential structure to anhydrous products like body butter bars, stick deodorants, lipsticks, and beard balms.
One last critical note regarding sourcing before we wrap up. The INC name alone, Cetearyl alcohol, does not actually indicate the raw material feedstock used to create it. It could be derived from palm oil, coconut oil, some other vegetable source, or it could even come from a synthetic process. Because of this, the name alone does not prove the material is vegan, palm-free, organic, halal, or Cosmos approved. If any of those claims matter for your brand or your formulation, you have to be proactive. Always request the current technical data sheet and the certificate of analysis directly from your supplier to neutrally verify those specific claims. You simply can't guess based on the ingredient name alone.
Read the full blog post in much more depth. The website link is in the description box below.